Carlos, we are good to start, brother.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Here we are again, another week of studies about Spiritism. We appreciate your presence over here. It's a beautiful day wherever you are, because okay, so we are here. And before we start the service, let's ask our sister Regina to lead us in a prayer.
Okay, so let us all close our eyes and let us lift our hearts to our divine brother, our Lord, Jesus Christ. Mother God, our Heavenly Father, and even say hello to our mentors, Mother Mary. And in this moment, as we connect our hearts and minds to our beloved Heavenly Father, we give thanks for allowing us another day to serve, another day to love, another day to forgive, another day to just be in the blessings and gifts that our Father bestows upon all of us. We thank you, Father. And in this moment, Father, we come together in your name, asking that you encompass us in your divine light and bless our service this morning. In your name, thank you, Father. So be it.
Thank you, Regina. Well, I purposely will be very brief on this introduction because we want to hear as much as possible from Alba, our speaker of today, and learning more about her experience as someone that spreading spiritism throughout her surroundings. So Bezerra Spiritist Center is a non-profit organization, also subscribed to the U.S. Spiritist Federation, and we are here basically, in our format as a media presentation. And our group is composed of many elements, many individuals that are spread out throughout the United States. But this group is basically all in English. And that's why we are here together to understand more about the Spiritism as a purpose of this program. The Bezerra Spiritist Center has a website where you can find all the information about the services and the study groups that we provide and the healing service as well. And so for you to access that, just Google it, Bezerra Spiritist Center, and it's BSH dot, what is that, Kiki? Yeah, I think Kiki will
Sorry, my computer was not working.
post the website.
bshcenter.org.
Very good.
bshcenter.org, yes.
Yes. And in that website, all the previous presentation are in store. It's just a matter of accessing it so we can hear about the studies and the studies that we have been created. Well, without any further ado, this service today is divided in two parts. This is the first part, which is the presentation, and we have our guest speaker today, Alba Morales. And the second part is a healing portion of the service, where offline, those that it stays on this screen will receive spiritist distance services. So let me introduce Alba Morales to you. Alba has a master's degree and a bachelor's degree in psychology and pedagogy from University Pedagógica Nacional and a master's degree in education from Pontifical, both institutions from Bogota, Colombia. She has been working in education for more than 34 years and has been involved with different age groups, working in workshops, classes, conferences, etc. Currently, she works at the School and Community Liaison Specialist for, well, she's a School and Community Liaison Specialist for Anne Arundel County Public Schools in Maryland, and as consultant for Immigrant Connections, supporting educators and organizations. As Morales has been an active member of the Spiritist Society of Baltimore since 2006 as a Spiritist educator and lecturer. Today, she's going to bring a study for us that is based on the lives of Emmanuel. As you know, Emmanuel was the mentor, spiritual mentor of Chico Xavier, a very important persona in the Spiritist world. And here we are. Alba, please take over. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so very much for your kindness and for this beautiful space that we are not physically together, but I feel the vibration of the spirits all together. So I am very humble for this opportunity. This presentation was originally created for an hour and a half, so I did a zip version for you guys. And let me see if I can share the screen. Okay, so hold on. I'm trying. Okay. So do you see my screen?
Yes, all perfect.
Okay, so I'm going to minimize my image here. Okay, so Emmanuel, the extraordinary story of the spirit who found Jesus, and we borrowed the title from a YouTube channel, spirit channels that is called Canal de Filosofía Espírita, a channel of philosophy spiritism. And they have this beautiful video with the different existences of Emmanuel. And this is the title. We also searched another source that it was another YouTube channel, and in Portuguese it's called Valor Espírita or Spirited Value. And also we took some information from the research of Geraldo Lemos Neto, who is a spirit scholar who met Chico Xavier in person. Geraldinho was about 17 years old or so when he actually worked hand to hand with Chico Xavier. And Geraldinho has developed this beautiful work of following the existences of Emmanuel through different books that Emmanuel, together with Chico Xavier, psychograph. And in that research of Chico, and we're not going to talk about this today, I'm just letting you know, he found the spirits that have been together for different centuries and different reincarnations, and that actually are main characters in the books that we're going to mention last century, living in Brazil, and they have names, and there is a whole family there. So it is really an amazing research. So why we are bringing Emmanuel today? As Charles mentioned, it is because we have more than 300 books that he has been the spiritual author. And Emmanuel is a truly teacher and a spiritual guide for us in Spiritism. So getting to know about the different existences of spirit that we regard so high because he's high above spirits is also you will help us, or at least it helped me to have perspective about our existence, our current existence, and how we want sometimes, just to be pure and perfect overnight, and we know that that's not possible. So we are going to talk here about reincarnation, one of the main principles of Spiritism, and we love this quote by Allan Kardec: to be born, to die, to be reborn, yet again, and constantly progress. That is the law. And that's what we're going to see here, right? So from the book Alem del Parnaso, Beyond the Grave, we found one of the first existences of Emmanuel in Egypt. We forgot to mention that how we have this information, where these YouTubers people is putting all this material together. It is because between October of 1938 and December of the 39, Emmanuel by himself revealed this to Chico Xavier, and Chico wrote it down. So there is a writing documentation about this. And we are going to see the existences or the lives that Emmanuel shared with Chico. So you will see there are gaps between centuries, or we start here with the bar very high, as Emmanuel is the great priest of Egypt. We don't know anything before. So to become the great priest of Egypt, you already advance in your spiritual career, if we want to say it that way. It's not overnight, and it's not anybody with a good intention. It's someone that already developed some intellectual knowledge and actual moral knowledge, right? Because it's leading a nation, spiritually speaking. And we know that in the ancient Egypt, they knew about reincarnation, they knew about communication with the spirits, and they themselves, most of the ancient Egypt's people, they came from Capella. Capella is a star that is very, very far from planet Earth, and several thousands of years ago, they were in the exact same point at we are right now here on planet Earth, which is transition. They were moving from a planet of trials and expiations to a planet of regeneration, and there was so much advance in science and technology and arts, but they needed to just give the leap, the jump into the moral development. And it was a large group of rebellious spirits that they didn't want this advance. They were so concerned about the materialistic evolution, and they were creating chaos and pain and inflicting wars and horrors among the people of Capella. So we know that every planet and every star that is inhabited in the universe, they have their role and model, their Christ. So it was a meeting among them, and they decided that they're going to take all these rebellious spirits with great knowledge, and they're going to move them to another planet in need of a boost of progress. And Jesus accepted. He said, I receive them, bring them here. And that's how we start with the Egypt civilization and India and China. And we're forgetting it was the Greeks, and we're forgetting number 4, the main great civilizations in which our current culture and society is found. Emmanuel, he doesn't disclose that he's coming from Capella. He just simply mentioned that he was Simas, the great priest of Egypt, a nobleman with a lot of knowledge, but in need still of progressing even more. So we found him then as a Consul Publius Cornelius Lentulus Sura, between the second to the first century before Christ in Rome. So this is telling us that he is an educated man, that he is a man that has political, social, and economical power, and that is he is a man that is committed, has a commitment with the empire. In the book that we mentioned, Alain del Parnaso, Beyond the Grave, they don't give us too much details about Publius Cornelius Lentulus Sura, but one of the main characteristics of Emmanuel that is going to transcend through the different existences is this pose, this attitude of being noble and being someone that is uncorruptible. So for him, going by the law is important. So he is living as a man of his time, following the laws of the time, that he was already, has a certain sensibilization towards the pain or suffering of others, not that much, but he already develops other characteristics that will help him later. And then in the beautiful book 2000 years ago, we found Senator Publius Lentulus Cornelius. It's in the first century, and he navigates between Rome, Galilee, and Pompeii. As a senator, Publius Lentulus Cornelius, again, is a man of power, a man of knowledge, a noble man. And here we found some moral suffering for him. He loves the family life, and he loves his wife. But unfortunately, his wife is not retributing that love the same way that Senator Publius Lentulus professed to her, meaning she has affairs with other people. Even though he never rejected her, he never accused her in the public eye, he kept it quiet, and he devoted his love to her, writing beautiful poems of love to her, and suffering inside, crying inside. His heart was broken. And we know that suffering is our teacher. Suffering is like this boiling water, right? When we put a potato in boiling water, the potato starts to soften and melt, right? So that's our spirit, basically. Through pain, moral pain, physical pain, whatever is the pain, we are becoming this soft material, flexible material that is preparing to do a higher step in loving others and giving our life for others. So here in the 2000 years ago, we found him, but there is something interesting about Senator Publius Lentulus Cornelius. He heard about the teachings of Jesus, the Nazarene guy, very looked down. They were like, nothing good is coming from Nazarene, because that was a small town, lots in Judea. But he's curious because he's smart, and he started noticing that a change is a small, not small, slow change is going on in the current order of the society. He hears people talking about Jesus and his teachings. So he is a defender of the empire. He believed in the Roman laws. As a matter of fact, we still have Roman laws in jurisprudencia. I forgot the name in English. Law, right? So he wants to be faithful to the empire, and that's the boots that sent him to seek for this Nazarene, and he has an encounter. He has an encounter with Jesus, which is narrated here. And it's late at night in Galilee. It's a starry night, warm. Jesus is waiting for him, knowing the struggles of his heart, knowing also the potential of that soul that just need a little bit of more boiling water to get the fine texture of a true Christian. Senator Publius Lentulus goes to the encounter as a reporter, let us put it that way. His idea was, I'm going to meet with this guy, I'm going to ask him questions, and I'm going to report back to the emperor. And as a matter of fact, he did. He did. And in that encounter, Jesus asked him, very kind, sweet, and firm, to follow him. And in the book, Emmanuel narrates how inside of his mind and his heart, it was like this turbulence. All of a sudden, he felt like he was divided into his love for the empire and his love for God, following Jesus with this new adventure of love your brother as you love yourself. In that very moment, Senator Publius Lentulus Cornelius made a decision that he later regret, and he narrates later on in other books. He decided to profess his love for the emperor and the Roman Empire and left Jesus there. And this is happening to us too. Just imagine how many times we receive the invitation to follow him, to follow his message. And just until now, we are like, okay, we are spiritists. Obviously, we have several existences, but just imagine how many invitations. And in every existence, we have the invitation again, and we will have it, and we will have it. Because our destiny is to be light and to be happy. Our destiny is perfection. So no matter what we do to hold on to that development, that evolution, we will eventually, after we follow the laws of God, or through pain, we will eventually start following the laws of God and going towards a higher life. Because we know this is an internship, right? So Jesus obviously creates this profound, beautiful impression that later Senator described in a letter to the emperor. And we're going to read it because it's truly beautiful. Not only that, but because we have also a physical description of Jesus and how impressed Senator Publius Lentulus Cornelius was about meeting this man that was so noble and so serene and so strong. So Emmanuel, as a Senator Publius Lentulus, says here, finally is the answer you have been waiting for with so much anxiety. Lately, a man of strange power appeared in Judea, whose real name is Jesus Christ, but whom the people call the great prophet, and his disciples call him the Son of God. Every day, great wonders are told of him. He raises the dead, heals all illnesses, and brings all of Jerusalem into amazement with his extraordinary doctrine. He is a tall man with a majestic appearance. His face, at the same time severe and sweet, inspires respect and love in those who see him. His hair is the color of the wine and falls wavy over his shoulders, which is divided in half in Nazarene style. His forehead, pure and proud, his skin pale and limpid. His mouth and nose are perfect. The beard is abundant and the same color as the hair. The hands thin and long, the arms of enchanting grace, blue eyes, placid and bright. He is serious, judicious, and sober in his speeches. Continue saying, rebuking and condemning, he is terrifying, instructing and exhorting. His word is sweet and caressing. No one has seen him laugh, but many have seen him cry. He walks with bare feet and head covered. Seeing him from a distance, there are those who despise him, but in his presence there is no one who does not tremble with deep respect. When they approach him, they say they have received enormous benefits, but they accuse him of being a danger to your majesty, because he publicly states that kings and slaves are all equal before God. Senator Publius Lentulus Cornelius, by the end of this reincarnation, he became a Christian, and he discarnates in Pompeii, being a Christian, and we know what happened in Pompeii and the Vesuvius, right? Something in the very last affirmation, it creates an echo for the rest of his existences. Because what he was something that was shocking for him, that kings and slaves are all equal before God. That was some unthinkable concept at the time. Unthinkable. That became his banner for the rest of his life. Knowing that we are all equal under the eyes of God, because we are all his children. Then we found him in the year 131 after Christ, in 50 years later as the slave Nestorius. We know that we navigate different existences. We can be noble, the royal house of a country, and then we can be a slave. But this slave, Nestorius, he appears in 50 years later. He was actually a gift. It was a gift from one senator to another, and he was placed in a home in which we found two young girls, teenagers, and he became he wasn't used there for domestic situations, so he became the person who educated these two patriarchal ladies. But he brought some knowledge because he was born as a Jewish. Then he was brought as a slave in Egypt again, in which he get in touch with the concepts of reincarnation, communication with the spirits, etc. And then he was brought to Rome. He got married, his wife died, and he had a son, but his son was taken also as a slave, so they were separated early in life, and his heart always longed for his son. What is important here as a slave Nestorius is that even though he was in the lowest layer of the social structure, when he enters a room, his pose, being noble and serious and uncorruptible, people feel it like something special in this man. As a matter of fact, the wife of the senator to which the story was given as a gift, Alba Lucia, she perceives this demeanor, and she asks to her spouse, if Nestorius is going to be our slave and is going to teach our daughters, he needs to be a free man. And then they signed a contract, or they signed a contract freeing him, so he is no longer a slave. He discarnated in this existence as a martyr, of a Christian martyr, tied to a post, and we know all the tortures and terrible things that Romans perpetrate to Christians. That was the way he discarnated, and is a very key person in this story, the story of Celia, that he gives her, or gives her, not only the teachings of reading and writing and some other knowledge that woman had access at the time, but it was the spiritual teachings. Interesting enough, if you haven't read the book and you like novels, things of the sort, she falls in love with his son. And this is turmoil. But anyways, slave Nestorio, going again through the pain of being a slave, acquiring more and more tools to become Emmanuel. We found him then in the year 2017 after Christ, and we found him as the Roman patrician Quinto Varro in the book Hail Christ. Fantastic. All of them, they are so good. This one is, wow. So as a Roman patrician, as a person who already converted to Christianity in previous existences, we know that what we learn, morally and intellectually speaking, that's our true treasure. That's what we carry with us in our spirit, right? So he comes back as a Roman patrician, again in a position of power, but with a different perspective. He knows he needs to contribute to the change, the social change in the empire. He does no longer tolerate having slaves in the empire. He does no longer tolerate conquering nations for the sake of conquering. He developed a different conscience, and he looked different in front of his colleagues, and people were like, he looks like a very eccentric person. So they didn't like him because of his revolutionary ideas at the time. He decided to travel to the Gallias, currently France. He had something to do, like part of his job, and some group of people decided that they wanted to kill him because he was a danger for the current social order that was there. So he's in this ship, this large boat, and there is a person there. We currently forget what's his role, her role, that let him know, hey, Quinto, be careful because somebody's going to attempt to kill you in this trouble. So you just do what you need to do, but you know. So in the same ship, it was this venerable old Christian monk, we can say. However, at the time it wasn't monks, but it was someone who was dedicated to go from place to place, bringing the message of love to different cities and towns around the Mediterranean. And he had a reputation, a very good reputation in the Christian world. And he was also a good friend of Quinto Varro, but he was very sick, very ill. As a matter of fact, he dies. So with the help of the person who told Quinto Varro, you're going to be killed, that night, Quinto Varro takes the place of this priest or monk. They dispose his body, right? So when the Romans are looking for Quinto Varro to perpetrate the crime, they couldn't find him, but they found the monk that was dead. So he's thrown to the waters. And after that, he took the identity of Brother Corvino. And that's how he continues the rest of his life. He cannot go back to Rome. He's dead. Again, he has a son there, and is the love of his heart, and his heart is aching to see him, to be close to him. And his son is actually very derailed for the path of moral progress. And this is a great concern and pain for him. And at the end of the book, almost at the end, they have the chance to get together again under such trouble, difficult circumstances in which Brother Corvino, he worked in the galleys, again, as a preacher, as someone who was spreading the word of the good news in the catacombs. He finally is persecuted and died in the most horrible way in front of his son. And we're not going to say what happened with the son. So we're just giving you, if you haven't read the books, go for them. Summer reading. So after Brother Corvino, he has a very short existence again in Rome as a Quinto Celso, a 14-year-old boy that was a prodigy in the arts. And again, he discarded in the Pope's torture along with other brothers and sisters. So we're thinking, why? Why all that? He's already like a noble spirit. He already has a lot of intellectual knowledge. He is developing his moral, the moral area. So why going to all these tortures as a Christian? And it is because he himself requested, because he wanted to expedite his growth. He wanted at the time to be like Jesus. And it's very likely he's going to get there if he doesn't get it yet there, right? But that's what he wanted, to expedite through suffering. Then we found him in the 5th century. So what happened with that? The last existence as a boy in Rome and the 5th century, we don't know, but he appears again in France as a Remy or Remigius. And again, he is in a family that they have the financial means. He received intellectual education. He has all the circumstances to grow intellectually and spiritually. But here in the Catholic Church, and actually Saint Remigius is a venerable saint in France. As Remigius, he decided that he wanted to dedicate his life to the poor. He wanted to dedicate his life to the people who was suffering, to the servants, to the people that didn't have any knowledge. And they said in the narration that his body never found himself tired of helping. He's a voice for the people that couldn't have voice. And also he started here also voicing against slavery. Wow, it's the 5th century. Slavery is not anymore there. Yes, it is. There is still forms of slavery, and he is the voice for this. As a Remy or Remilio, he did a prediction, and he said that if the people who govern the country continue following the laws of God, the country will be blessed with a new messenger from heaven. And we know that we get Allan Kardec and the 3rd revelation, and we have Spiritism there in France. So again, he discarnate after a long and a very pestilent, we don't have other words, illness. And again, in 1517, he reincarnates in Portugal as Father Manuel da Nóbrega. And please give me a signal because I don't see you here, but I think my time is over. But we're almost there. He entered the University of Salamanca at 17 years old. He graduates with a doctorate, and he traveled to Brazil to observe and choose the land on which he would later found the city of São Paulo, January 25th, 1554. And Father Manuel was a great defender of the rights and freedom of the indigenous peoples and the slaves. You see how everything started in Rome. And now it goes with him, the same ideology. So one of the beautiful things here is, besides being one of the spirit guides of Brazil and founding the capital, right? His name, Manuel. So in Portuguese, even in Spanish, is Hermano Manuel. And he signed A. Manuel. So that's the name that we currently have, Emmanuel, with one M. So again, he helps a community to grow and to comfort and to bring the light of the message of the Christ. Then we found him as a Father Damiano in Spain in 1613. In the book Renunciation, he was the spiritual guide or counselor, incarnated one, for the main character there. He lived in Avila. He was an enlightened and dedicated priest with a noble and balanced character. You see how when we acquire our qualities, our moral qualities, we go with them for the rest of our lives. We don't lose them. We improve them. He fights against the slave traders. He dedicated his entire life to his neighbor. He moved to Paris and he discarnated of the Black Plague. It was a respiratory disease. And here, Emmanuel is bringing us something, or at least in the communications to Chico, is how he moved from being a Roman senator and then he started the Catholic Church. So the Catholic Church, and he defends, it was necessary for the expansion of the message that we have a loving Father in heaven, not a God that is going to punish us, that we are beloved children of God, etc. So the Catholic Church has a very important role in the development of our spirituality. No matter what we think about it, no matter what are the errors that they commit in the past, because after all, it's an organization and institution created by humans. But it was paramount to the development of spirituality, to bring charity, love in action by serving the poorest of the poor and by recognizing them as a human fellow beings that have the same rights and the same blessings from God, right? Finally, the last account that we have is that after he presented to Chico in the 1910, 1920s, and being Chico's spiritual guide and doing all this fantastic work of psychographing, right? It was revealed to Chico that Emmanuel reincarnated 26 years ago, somewhere in the countryside of the state of Sao Paulo, Brazil. Chico has this vision in which he detached himself, being not sleeping, being awake, and he goes to the place in which this woman is giving birth to this boy or this girl, and he knows that that is Emmanuel. And he was revealed that we will know about Emmanuel by his acts, by the way he behaves, by the way he loves his neighbor. That's the story, Emmanuel, uh, with Chico Xavier. And we want to finish with this affirmation that Emmanuel himself brought to us. The work of the gospel continues. The change of names is not important. Above all, the execution of it is what matters. The flag of the cross proceeds. All around us, there is people who are thirsty for the Savior. And this was in 1949. Thank you.
Oh, Alba, you're so appreciated. Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation.
You're welcome.
In synthesis, we saw in action. Emmanuel had several incarnations after that episode with Jesus back in those days. And that also brings me to think about, where was I at that time? Where have I been? And that's for everybody, right? Everybody that's here. Because basically, that is verification that we had many lives, many names, many, who knows, many nationalities. But anyways, I appreciate your help. And please, anybody that would like to make a comment or have questions for Alba, this is the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, long time ago, I read those books, but it was more like at the beginning of my spiritual journey. And I was fascinated with them. I can't remember all of them. You know, I have to go back. I really do need to reread them because I only did it once. Most people do it at least 2 times. And right now we're doing Paul and Stephen. And you know how fascinating that book is. So I appreciate knowing that, you know, because some of it I had totally forgot the connection of him with these books, you know. So wow, it was very educational. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You brought to us, Alba, the way you spoke. Now you present to us like watching a movie and seeing him in front of Jesus, bringing that vibrations of the presence of Jesus again in our heart. I think every time we feel distant from Jesus, we should read that letter again and again and again, as many times, because I got emotional as you were reading, like I was in front of Jesus, feeling his kindness, feeling his love and the trust. You see later, he repent, no, for not being able to take that moment and become a Christian. No, you can see the regret that he has at the end of his life. And in the next life, he already was born, because the Spirit already planned his incarnation. And one thing I'm sure he requests, I want to born as a Christian, no?
Yes.
And even though he knew that he'll be sacrificed, all that would come to become a Christian at the first hours, no? And Emmanuel have a great impact in our lives. Some said that he contribute on the organization of the Spiritism codification with Allan Kardec at that time. So I have no doubt. I have no doubt that he was there, uh, because imagine him and Chico has a great connection from life to life, many, many lives, and many, many times, as Geraldo Lemos had brought to us, to our knowledge, and I'm feeling that the contradictory, that Allan Kardec and Chico is the same person. I just don't want to bring this because I have my conceptions, and but you can see that if Allan Kardec and Chico is the same person, you can see why Emmanuel was there motivating, helping, supporting, as an intellectual spirit that he is, how Kardec organized this with the help of his mentors, no? And then you can see, I got a goosebump all over right now, just thinking about that. You can see how amazing the organization was made that time by Kardec. And I imagine the Chico Xavier, how it was organized, have to be a spirit like Emmanuel. So I, with a humble heart, I'm so thankful to him, to his life, for how he has brought to us. And I'm so thankful to you to bring to our group today this important remembrance and this important news for others, that since the beginning, and the word was with God, and God was with the word. That our Jesus was with God, and God was with Jesus. So at the beginning of the manifestation of the one of the great book of Emmanuel is the In the Way to the Light, when he brings us the knowledge that no one talks about. What happened at the beginning of this planet, no? And
Mhm.
and the promise of the capellians, no, when we was exiled from Capella, but the promise that Jesus made that we will not be alone. He will continue with us, and every day. So thank you so much. You have no idea the trip I went just in these 45 minutes. Appreciate your presence here today. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Tania. Thank you. I forgot to mention actually too that, well, first, this was the reincarnations that Emmanuel reveals to Chico. So mm, for sure there are more. Second, in all of them, he's a man. And we're like, why? Well, it was necessary for the changes that he wanted to promote and to create along with other spirits, right? Because we know how the role of women just recently, last century, we got the right to vote, etc. So reincarnating as a woman, probably he couldn't have the social arena that he had in the different reincarnations. Thank you, Tanya.
Elbita, thank you so much for coming. What a gift. What a gift. And it was just as great the second time to hear this presentation. It's so beautiful. And, I think what hit me the most today was that recognition of the sun in each of those lifetimes, how this, we partner with these same souls. And you're right, we each need to read the books and to come to better understand. These are not type of books that you just get a book report, But what's interesting for me personally is when I read one of the books many years ago, and I read it with a group, and the person leading it mistakenly told us some incorrect information. And I kept thinking, no, I know this person is Emmanuel. And she kept insisting Emmanuel was a different person in the book. But it was so validating when I heard your presentation that you said, what I had thought. And especially when you said at the end that we will know him in the future by his deeds. And this is exactly how I felt I recognized him in the book as well, was just the soul and the forces that he was exemplifying. And so I don't know, very beautiful. I love this presentation. I would love to hear it even again. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the invitation, Teresa.
Alba, outstanding,
Yes, just
out,
Mark, go ahead, Mark.
outstanding history, just filled in so wonderfully blanks. And yet there's so much more to learn, to go back and reread them now with that knowledge. I particularly liked your ending. And I don't know if it was intentional or not, but If he really is already in Sao Paulo, then he may be a she.
Yes, that's why we don't. It could be a he or she.
Yeah,
I know. Hmm. But it's exciting having such
yeah.
a loving, caring, knowledgeable spirit among us, helping us to do the transition.
Yeah, the real question is the rest of the world ready for that?
We
Yeah,
are.
he's, I think,
We heard
Rosalie,
he's coming like as a politician at this time.
well, and
Yeah.
also Chico Xavier will be his mentor. There's
Mhm.
an agreement they have between the two. So that's why Chico saw his birth in Brazil this time, because he traveled spiritually to see the birth. And that's interesting. So that's another way to find out who he is.
Mm, that's right.
Very good. Okay, everyone. Anybody else?
Kiki is not listen. You're
Well,
mute. I don't know why. It's not showing as a mute, but we cannot hear you.
are you kidding?
We could
Yeah,
hear you
wow.
laugh. That was funny. Try. We heard you go.
Die?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
You can hear me
No, you
now?
can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you too, Charles.
Wait, I don't know. My computer is going nuts. Well, what I was saying is that another evidence that Emmanuel had an agreement that this time around, Chico will be the mentor of Emmanuel or in this life. So that's another way for us to know who he is.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, anybody else?
I think, Kiki, you're trying to. Okay, unmute.
I don't know if I can. Can you all listen to me now? Okay, I just thought that
Yeah.
I was meant to be silent, which is okay. Uh, um, I just think that it was very beautiful how inspiring his courage is, because it needs to take courage to do what he did, to choose what he chose. And he chose to be courageous since the very first moment that he met with Christ. And I think that is so inspiring, because at the end of the day, by now, our spirits, at some level, we all know the lessons. We all know love and fraternity. So it is a matter of choice to definitely decide who we want to be. So I think that was very beautiful. That's what stick with me. Thank you so much. That was beautiful, Alba. And you also inspired me to reread the books and read some that I still didn't. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Well, just to know that this presentation today will be on the website, and we can review it at any time. That is a wonderful opportunity. So Alba, all I have to say is that thank you so much for bringing to us this information. We appreciate you so much. So now we're going to go to our second part, which is the healing process. So Kiki, take us out of YouTube.